I'm so excited that you and I get to do this. You know that I run around and I tell everybody that I taught you everything you know. And of course, now is your opportunity to clear that up.
No, I mean, seriously, I tell everyone that my senior year at Emerson, I majored in Brad Lemack because I took my last semester at Emerson, I took your internship class, your PR class, and your business of acting class. And then I think I had one other class, but that was it.
You did, and you survived. And look at you.
Survived. Who knew? Who knew?
Gosh.
All those journal entries.
God, you see, I knew one day they would come back to haunt me.
One day we're going to find them. I wonder what I wrote.
Right. Exactly. I'm enormously proud of you. I mean, I am, you know that. And when I was thinking about, it was really time to create some new content for the web series about what's happening now, because we just have never had what's happening now happen before. And, I came up with a short list of people who just A, matter to me, and B, have a perspective I think that's rooted in reality. So really thank you for agreeing to do this. So you're not in LA at the moment.
I'm not. So my job, can be completely done from home, which is, very beneficial in these moments. It's sad. It's not the same. It's not what I love, but it can be done. So after a few months, I realized I should go back to the East Coast just because there's a lot of things that need to be done, like with our house, and my mom's having surgery. And so I guess in a weird way, that's maybe one of the benefits of all of this, is that you get to be able to be two places at once in a weird way.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
And you're fine. Your mom is fine. Everybody's fine.
So far, so good. Everything's fine.
Good.
You too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People say, what has it been like through COVID? Has it been tough? And I say, look at me. I'm 27 years old.
Still.
It works. Or either
when you taught me, you were like 16.
Right, exactly. Or the other one is it been tough? And I said, well, before COVID, I did not have one gray hair at the top of my head. So either one, take a pick. It's 6 more minutes I can go on the road with this act. But
I was about to say, when am I going to come see you doing stand-up? Seriously.
It's better for now. I'm sitting. So no, this is good. So thank you, my dear. Thank you, my dear. You sit on a very, really interesting perch. And we're talking to actors. And so my mission is to try and give them something to chew on that will reduce some of the anxiety and be able to re-engage and get back in and move forward in a way that's going to keep everyone safe, everybody protected, and still we get to accomplish stuff. So what's your sense? Like, how have you been impacted by COVID and what's happened the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, my job is crazy because it can all be done from home. I mean, it's a lot of watching videos, it's a lot of reading scripts, making lists, and all the calls can really be done on Zoom. What I miss about my job is the going to theater and the meeting people in person, because I love this industry so much, because it is so much about relationships and meeting people and collaborating and learning, what other people believe and what other people think. And I just, that's the part that I miss. But it is crazy to see that it can all be done from home. So that's kind of how it's affected me, is just realizing that I can really do everything from home. And realizing that that's not really what I like.
Yeah.
I don't think
you're a meeting with, but you get good meetings. So that's a good.
Even meeting actors on Zoom, it's great that we can do it, and it's cool to know that we can, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same as when we meet in person.
And I'm glad you brought that up. It's an interesting challenge, because as much as so many of us fought, kicked and screamed about self-tape auditions, maybe that was just me, and I was hoping there were other people. I kept saying, I want my actors in the room. I want them to have that connection. Now, that's where it is all happening. And now the introduction, the quick ramping up of the virtual audition is like a whole other set of rules that we have to teach and they have to learn, because the desire would be to try and book the room when you're not really in the room, when the room is a different kind of a room, and how to approach it, how to behave during the process, and just how to engage in the process. Have you been doing a lot of that, and sort of do you have a sort of takeaways on what's how actors
Yeah.
are going about it?
Yeah, so when I used to, because I love to teach and I love to give any advice that I can from what I've learned, and I used to be a firm believer in it is all about the relationship and it's all about being in the room and it's all about the connection that you feel, and a self tape, as long as we can see and hear you, who cares? It's don't spend a lot of money on it. In the past 4 months, my view on this has completely changed. I think that if you're gonna invest in some self-tape tools, a light, some sound equipment, now's the time to do it. I think the iPhone can do wonders, or a Mac computer, but I think it is really the time, because for the foreseeable future, that is going to be how we do auditions. And I have seen so many self-tapes and so many self-auditions, and it is true that the work comes first, and that has to be good in order for anything to work. But at the same time, it is going to behoove you now more than ever to have some type of setup, or to, know what's going on with the self-tape. I think the biggest thing is really to watch yourself. Do the self-tape and watch it, and really try to be as objective as possible. It is a subjective industry, but be as objective as possible and say to yourself, is this clear? Is this, is this showing me my best light? You want to ask yourself all of those actual,
Right.
real things,
Right.
before you send it to casting. And I think that's more important than ever now.
Well, and what's so interesting for actors who are represented, it's been so interesting for me at this end, because when I think those of us who represent actors sign clients, we've seen enough evidence to indicate that there's potential there that we want to invest in.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of it on gut reaction, particularly because while we know they may be a great actor or an actor with great potential, we don't have any idea how they audition, right? Because we're never in the room. And it dawned on me sort of earlier on that, wow, this is really an opportunity for me to see how the actor auditions, and gives me a chance to work with them on exactly what you're talking about, which is the quality, and can we hear you, and yes, I know it's about the content, but if there's so much distraction happening in the picture, or we can't hear you, it's very easy for you to hit delete. Not so easy to throw someone out of the room they're sitting in, but easier
Right.
to hit next.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that also, people, the way that they send the tapes is a huge deal. It's so easy for me to hit a or a Vimeo link, or to hit a YouTube link. But if there's any kind of, hurdle, if for some reason it needed a password that wasn't provided, or if it's not public, or, public to me, or if it's not super easy, it's that much easier to just be like, okay, I don't have time for this, whereas if I could open it up quickly, and I try to watch as much as I possibly can, if I open it up quickly and it's there, it's better off in it. And unfortunately, that has completely to do with technology. And so people who are able to just send a link that you click on that maybe has a password, but the password is provided, make it as easy as possible. That really helps.
You'd really just like to be able to get a link and watch it, and not have to do the extra step of the password, right?
But I understand people, their privacy.
Yeah. I've been saying lately, and I'm hoping that this is true, because I don't have enough evidence to prove this yet, but I'm hoping that this will eventually prove itself true, that one of the benefits of the self-tape and the virtual stuff, particularly the self-tape, is that there may be opportunities for more actors to audition for a role than there would have been before, when they had to show up at Sony or wherever, and there's only so much time in the day, right? And it's the whole process of, hello, how are you? Sit down, do your audition. Okay, now get out, next. And it's time consuming in a way that self-tapes for you are not, in viewing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love to say this, but it's true. When I first got into this industry, and I worked at an agency, I was baffled by the numbers. I was like, okay, this is crazy. This many people get called in, this many people get called back. Like, how does anyone make any kind of money doing this ever? And then I started to realize that it really was the people who were doing the work and networking and really taking it seriously that were the ones that rose to the top. But what's happening in the industry now is yes, there's more content than ever, and we can watch more videos than ever, which is amazing. Everything is super fast, but at the same time, the world is smaller. So I feel like back in the day, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but I feel like back
There we go with the back in the day, and go ahead. My lips still endure.
you could you if you had a role, you were really only auditioning people that lived in Los Angeles, and then maybe a few years later it was Los Angeles, New York. Then you had Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, Chicago.
Yeah.
Now we can find someone anywhere. I mean, you could have a client, Brad, that lives in Omaha, Nebraska, like that lives anywhere, and they could make a tape, and the next thing you know, they're on television. So it's easier than ever and more tapes are being seen than ever, but then also I think the competition has gotten even larger because we can find people all around the world.
And that's really exciting. And I don't know if we've had a chance to talk about this. I've been doing a lot of my business of acting career clinic seminars in Albuquerque over the last couple of years. I've been going to Albuquerque almost every 2 months, and I have met so many incredible people, actors, artists, production, other creative people. There's so much industry happening there, for example. And the questions that seem to come up in these seminars a lot is, well, this is great, but what if we want to grow? How do we get past this? And my answer has always been, there's now more happening in places like New Mexico than ever before. But exactly what you just said, which is that you can be in New Mexico and still have a shot at auditioning for something in LA without all of the angst about that we've had up until this point. And so look, that's good news. And I also, I don't want to gloss over it all. I recognize a lot of people are struggling. It's been really difficult for so many people, but I'm also trying to, as we maneuver through this, find some positive pieces that we can hang on to that will make this different and better moving forward. So to hear you say that, I think is really great news.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start to see a trend of actors are going to realize that they don't have to be in LA and New York, and that they can, be in somewhere that they can actually afford a house, and they can, it doesn't have to be in those metropolitan areas, and they can still work. I mean, some actors have already started doing that. I know, like Kyle Chandler lives in Texas. It's like, and there's a lot of actors that live in Montana and lots of different places that they know that they can fly to LA when they have to, and they can make self-tapes the rest of the time.
Right. Meryl Streep.
For those people, I mean, Kyle, I don't think is.
Yeah. So Meryl Streep lives in a farmhouse in Western Massachusetts, but she can do that, right? She's Meryl Streep.
Right, exactly. She can do whatever she wants.
Right, exactly. So you're at the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about what kind of changes have happened in general in that environment from where you sit because of COVID, and like what that might look like moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, my studio, I have to admit, I am so impressed by everything that they've done. And what you realize through something like this is just how many departments there are and just how many people are working to make sure this happens. At a huge corporation like I work at, we have a safety department, we have a labor department, we have a legal department, we have business affairs. We have all these different people that are trying to work as hard as they can to make sure that we get people back into production and as safely as possible. So I'm so impressed by everything that we're doing, and I don't know how much I can really share because I don't want to like say anything.
Yeah, no, sure.
Yet, but we are constantly talking to the unions and trying to figure out the best way to get people back in and safely. And I think that we do have a show, Days of Our Lives, that's already shooting, so it's starting to happen.
Great. Because we sort of lost pilot season. Like, what happened to pilot season 20?
Yeah, pilot season was pretty well. Pilot season's interesting to me though, because it's not the same as it was before. When I started in casting almost 7 years ago, pilot season was insane. Like, I didn't sleep for 4 months. I think I blacked out. Like, I don't remember what happened. But and then it was over, and then we had the summer, and then we started getting back into episodic season in the fall. And now it's almost like something's happening all the time because of cable and streaming. So pilot season is interesting to me because yes, it's still the network pilot season, but it's not as big of a thing as it was even just 5 or 6 years ago.
And that's good news. And sort of an observation that I've had during this time is so interesting because like broadcast television, those numbers of audiences have been declining steadily over the last decade. and now like I have nothing left to watch on Netflix. I have watched everything that there is to see on Netflix. So I think people
But you're
are
lucky they're
audience.
spending more money than ever next year for more
Right,
content.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that, and that right. And that broadcast television, right? Producers of broadcast television are seeing audiences return. So then the challenge for them is going to be, how do we create what we need to create to keep them? And of course, we're in the midst of this pandemic, but we're also in the midst of this incredible shift in everything that is impacting how we watch, what we watch, who gets hired to tell these stories, and what are the stories being told. So the shift is enormous, and it's about the pandemic, but it's about the bigger global shift too, which I'm sure you're seeing there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, especially for me, it's really reminding me what's important. It's really reminding me how easy it is to, especially in my life that is usually so busy going and going and going, like to take a breath, to sit back, to realize what's really important to me, to, go back and see my family. And this is time that I'll never have again. And I think that everyone's starting to realize that. And so I think that in that shift, we're starting to really, it's going to change the culture of the business. And I think it really is going to be people not so obsessed with like the Hollywood or LA lifestyle. It's going to be more about like, I love acting and I want to go be an actor, but I also want to be with my family, or, I also want to live somewhere where I can have a backyard, or whatever the it is. They, people are starting to realize what they really want. And I think that the whole, like, just consuming yourself in Hollywood may not be the same, may not look the same in the future, which is interesting because I love it just as much as anybody else.
Well, yeah, I mean, this was a draw for you. I mean, you came here, you decided to stay here, you
Yeah.
loved it. And you initially were thinking about a career as an actor person, right?
Yeah.
Glad I talked you out of that one.
No, by the time I got to you, I was already very bitter. You actually were very kind. You were like, it's a great time to be an actor. You can submit yourself. And I was like, that's if anybody likes you. I was like a year-old woman, like, this is terrible. Back then.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I really appreciate that you would carve out some time to do this. I really appreciate
course.
Your perspective on what you have to say, and sort of one sort of final thing: actors who need some nuggets to stay positive, whether they're represented now or not yet represented. And actually, as a quick sidebar, I've heard from many actors who have like emailed me in a panic saying, oh my God, my management agency is closing, and my agent, my talent agent, is like the financial challenges, the business model just isn't going to work anymore for those agencies. And actors are going, well, they're panicking. What do I do now? And I say, please take a deep breath. It's okay. It will be fine, because those of us who represent them, we're trying to figure our way through what will the new business model be for us to be able to do that. And we are, it just.
You're gonna have to write a new book.
Yeah. I why it's coming out soon. I may need a new quote. Well, I think I want to be able to help. I use the word, empower. I just want actors not to be afraid of now. I want them to understand that, shifts, it's always a new landscape. When I wrote the first book, a long, long time ago, it was a new landscape. And then it was time for another new landscape. And, here it is, like the fourth new landscape since the first new landscape. It happens.
Every year. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
From when I was an assistant to now my boss's assistant, it's like night and day. I used to have to make DVDs, and now she just like plugs in a USB thing to the TV and shows tapes. It's like, it's crazy how fast.
What is this world coming to?
I don't know. We just send links. So different.
So from you, a word of advice to actors about how to stay focused maybe during this particular time?
Absolutely. So my biggest piece of advice is for right now to take a breath, to calm down, and to do something that reminds you of why you love this in the first place. So if that's, watching that musical that made you smile, when made you realize you wanted to do this, if that's, working on that monologue for that role that you'll never play because it's not your type or whatever, but you've always wanted to play it or you've always wanted to work on it, I think that's huge to right now. Really, as we're all going back and reminding ourselves what's important, remind yourself why this is so important to you, why you love this, and why you want to keep pursuing this. Yeah. And then remember that, yes, it is super competitive out there and there's a million people, but there's so much content and there's content for everyone, and people want to hear new and authentic voices. So whatever you have to say, and I feel like this is the Emersonian in me, use your voice. And, make sure that you are authentically you. And that's what people want to see. Right now, more than ever, they don't want to see the whole thing of the types. For me, it's done. It's like, they don't want to see you as a type. They want to see you as you. So whoever you are, be authentically you, be confident in you, and that's going to make you succeed.
It's always, historically, it's been times of challenge like this from which great art has come, like great movies, great theater, great literature, great poetry. And so one's ability to be able to tell those stories will be counted on. And, I know I'm eager to see those stories. So that's a very good thing.
We want to hear them. We want to hear, and not just me. I mean, everybody wants to hear. I mean, that's the thing is nothing is generic anymore. Everything needs to be different and unique. And I think that those are the stories people want to hear. They want to hear stories about real people.
And that speaks to the greater global shift that's happening. I think exactly what you're saying. I also, in what you just said, heard that my lifelong dream to play the matchmaker, Yenta the matchmaker in a local production of Fiddler on the, forget it, right?
You need to take you need to make a tape, Maybe they'll do like a gender reversal casting. I'd love to Tevia. Let's do it. I can
see it. I'm going to give you a virtual call back tomorrow. It's perfect.
Did you know? This is one of my favorite facts about that.
Yes.
The reason my boss tells this story. The reason that in that musical, when he sings is because the original Tevye forgot the lyrics. So he just said bada bida bida dum, and then it stuck.
I love that, and I'm not surprised. And so wait, here's something else about that. So in the old Three Stooges movies, right, you would see Curly get down, dive to the floor and, go beep, 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 and he would like circle around. And, you would think that was part of the thing. Well, actually that's because he forgot his line.
I love that.
And he didn't know what to say. So he would drop. And I guess at Columbia Screen Gems in the old days, you could do that. Time wasn't about so much money.
Crazy.
Hey,
absolutely crazy. I love that.
Stay safe. I love you. And I just thank you so much for doing this.
My absolute pleasure. I adore you. Anything you ever need.
Stay safe.
Going back to my childhood bedroom now.
I love it. I love it. We should make an added value for the home version. Exactly. Go on this shelf and there's that and there's that and there's that. And thank you, my dear. Stay safe.
Absolutely.